let's talk about Civic lighting and some of the nuances around it, just so that people can get the most benefit out of the lights. A little introduction to Big Star Lights and what we do. We started this business in 2012, and we design, manufacture, and supply high quality decorative lighting and really focus on creating magical moments, placemaking, really bringing families and communities together any time of year, not just around the holidays, but around other events as well. Even throughout the summer, we've got a pretty big summer line as well. I'm Daniel Cowan, I'm the founder. I've got my contact details there. And then we also have Kevin Roberts on the line as well. And he's the business development manager and has got a lot of experience in the decorative lighting space, especially with working with municipalities and BIAs. So those are the two best people to contact to help make sure that you get the most benefit out of the decorative lighting. So holiday lighting is more than festive fun. It shapes how people feel about their city, where they gather, and how they engage with public spaces, particularly in the dark of the winter. It's important to think of it in this light, no pun intended, because it's going to set you up for long-term success. We've seen it all. Lighting draws good people in, drives bad people out. A byproduct is that vandalism and crime are reduced and business improves. I don't know if anybody's familiar with Victoria, BC. We've got multiple case studies there, for example, where the BA added lights to alleyways and it made a significant difference in crime rates. So whether it's for safety, commerce, or just delight, decorative lighting becomes part of the city's heartbeat. By seeing lighting as infrastructure and placemaking rather than just a yearly expense, we start seeing measurable returns in engagement, tourism, and local commerce. So I thought it would be good to walk through how to choose smart, durable solutions, select the right products, and plan beyond just this year. We've seen many communities become disappointed with poorly planned or executed displays that they may have tried to tackle on their own or through an inexperienced team. And as I'm sure residents and businesses become fairly vocal about that. So I want to set you up with the most success you can have for a given budget. So we'll talk design, which products to consider. We'll talk about strategies for this year, future years, and some consideration for decorating year-round as well. So one of the most important design considerations is not trying to do too much with too little. One of my favorite design philosophies is that it's better to light a small area very well instead of thinly lighting a large area. Really, you want to create a focal point, and that focal point can be an immersive experience, or it could be enjoyed from afar. So it's a decision that you want to make. Do you want people to walk right up to the display, or surround themselves with the lights, or just look at it from further away? Consider the crowd as well. Is it going to be appealing to kids or adults? If it's for kids, obviously you're going to throw in a lot more color. If it's for adults, mostly if it's more about getting them to spend more with the stores, then something more elegant with like maybe warm white lights would be a better fit. So there's popular options for decorating include putting lights in trees, on buildings. There's illuminated sculptures and pole mounts, and we'll talk about each of these. So trees have a couple of styles that can be used. There is this style that we see in these photos here called canopy wrap. It's relatively inexpensive. You can spread a lot of lights across a large area. The lights just hang on the exterior of the trees. The cons around this are that the lights may fall out on some tree types if the branches are quite thin or young. They'll also consume a lot of power on large trees with larger bulbs. So it's something to keep in mind when looking at the canopy wrap style. Trees with ornaments is another great way to decorate. The pros of this are that you can light large trees with a relatively small amount of product. It's an inexpensive way to add a bit of color for the holidays. The cons around lighting trees with ornaments like this is that you do need strong branches and lift access as well. Now, trees decorated with trunk and branch wrap, these create a very stunning look. It draws a lot of attention. And in this style, you will find that obviously it consumes more lights and more labor, and it can't really be left in year round, at least with standard mini light strings, because as the tree tries to grow, it will become restricted by the wire unless we use something called the stretch string, which we started offering several years ago. This is a particular string that has rubber attached on the wire, and it allows the string to grow up to 20%. The stretchable rubber is UV resistant, and we make it in a brown wire as well so that it blends in with the trunk of the tree. You can see on the bottom left that there's an example of a tree that is not stretchable string, and the string was left in year round. And obviously it will scarring the tree. Most likely it will kill the tree as well. Decorating buildings is another great option on a seasonal basis. Obviously, pros around this is that it's a good option when electrical infrastructure is limited. In other words, you don't have electrical on trees or near trees, but obviously the buildings have electrical available, so we can light those. Some of the cons is not all commercial buildings are particularly interesting to highlight. And in those cases, you might need to get a bit creative here. As you can see in these photos, we've added some stars to the building, or you can create these ice sheets hanging off the side of the building as well. Now, buildings are a great candidate for permanent lighting. The pros on permanent lighting is that obviously it's a capital cost, but it can pay off within 5 years compared to using seasonal lights and installing them and removing them every year. There's obviously additional functionality on these lights because you can actually control them through an app. You can make them do certain effects. You can celebrate other times of year as well. You can set them for St. Patrick's Day, Valentine's Day, or there's a particular event in the city as well. But you can also use these for security lighting or architectural lighting. So they serve a dual purpose of not just decorating or celebrating events, but for security and architectural lighting as well. The cons around this obviously is a higher upfront cost. On average, it's about 4 or 5 times the cost of seasonal lighting, but obviously there's much higher functionality and you probably get more use out of it throughout the year. So illuminated sculptures is becoming much more popular, especially in the context of creating a focal point in the city. These are very Instagrammable pieces. People love getting up close to it, taking photos. We've seen families take their Christmas photos in front of these. You can get so creative with these, and they attract a lot of attention. You can make it so that, again, these are sculptures that are viewed from afar, or you can make walk-through pieces like tunnels or walk through ornaments or presents, and people can immerse themselves in the lights. With a bit of planning, and if it's a really large street or municipality, you could purchase several of these and add each year as you go, and then start to rotate these around the city so that it's always fresh in a certain neighborhood and they can be enjoyed a lot longer. The cons for this product is that they are a higher upfront cost, and obviously the storage can be a bit of an issue, but typically a lot of people will store these in sea cans. That's how we deliver them. So they do come apart, and they're pretty easy to move around. They're made out of aluminum, so they don't rust, and pretty easy to work with as well. This tunnel in the center would take maybe several hours to put together. Other options are trees. So you can get these tower trees, and they are a great focal point. Marquee signs are another fun one as well. You don't need lit sculptures either. You can use unlit ones like this stainless steel heart that we made for a shopping center. And it's enjoyed year round. Also festival lights for running across walk-through shopping areas or plazas. As you can see on the right, this is a relatively inexpensive way to light a popular shopping area. And again, this particular alley was more prone to crime. And once the lights were installed, that seemed to reduce considerably. So, not all Christmas lights are made equal. There's something to be concerned about, which is called LED stability. All LEDs have an inherent property where they lose their color, temperature, and brightness over a period of time. And once it hits about 80% of its original color and brightness, it's deemed to be the end of its life. So, the trick and our secret sauce is to create a product that holds its color, temperature, and brightness for a much longer period of time. And that's how we can offer 5-year warranties on our product. As you can see in these images, these aren't our lights, but you can see how the light start off pure white on the left and then over a couple of years turn a kind of a bluish color and become more dim. Warm light lights will turn yellow and become more dim as well. And if you start mixing these different vintages of product in trees, as you can see on the right, it doesn't look very good after a while if you need to replace a string with a new one while there's still old ones in the tree. And the way we achieve stability is through quality components. We source our copper from Europe, so it's 99.9% pure. We get electrical components from Japan and Taiwan. Even the PVC on the outside of the wire makes a difference, which we'll source from the US. Our mini lights, we use a watertight coaxial plug. So it seals the water out, which is particularly important for wet environments because water is the enemy of lights. Power management is also important to consider, especially with municipalities and BIAs. Power isn't always where you need it. In most cases, it's not. And it's very costly to put the infrastructure in. But it's important to know how much you're going to need. So one of the most popular types of products are the retrofit bulbs. So these are larger bulbs that are screwed into sockets. And as you can see at the tree in the center there, that one has some, I think they're C9s or G30 light bulbs in the tree. And that product comes on wire and you add plugs onto the end of the wire. And we find that they pull about 1 amp for every 100 feet, which is actually quite a bit. All that power is consumed from the wire itself. It's not actually the bulbs, but the wire. And we found that in about 4 years of time, that will actually double to about 2 amps for every 100 feet. So you need to plan to have enough power 4 years from now, not just for this year, but 4 years from now as the lights get older and start to consume more power. So it's a very important consideration. One thing to note too is with the plugs, we offer plugs that have dielectric grease on the inside of them, and that's really critical because it reduces the chance of tripping GFIs on the electrical outlets. So make sure that you've got plugs with dielectric grease. The other popular product is mini lights. These are much more forgiving. They only consume about 4.8 watts per string, and for every 100 feet, that works out to be about 0.16 amps. So pretty well 10% of what the retrofit bulbs consume. The retrofit bulbs are more durable just because it's a thicker wire and replaceable bulbs. The mini light's a little bit less durable, but also quite a bit less cost and draws a lot less power. The look is obviously quite a bit different as well. It's important, as we talked about earlier, to come up with a long-term plan to get the most benefit of your product. You don't need to do what's in that photo there all in one shot in your first year. So we encourage people to come up with a long-term plan and add to the display as you go, just to meet budgets. If you're going to plan to include illuminated sculptures, you can start to build an inventory and rotate that throughout the city. You can add decor each year, really focus on the high impact areas first. And I put a table here that highlights a given budget. Let's say the budget's $100,000 a year and what that might look like over a period of time. Usually for new installs, product and labor each represent about 50% of the cost. Plus or minus, there's a lot of exceptions to this, but just to keep it simple, let's say that new product is 50% and the new labor for installing that product represents the other 50%, so $50,000 each. Year 2, budget again, $100,000. You have to reinstall $50,000 in lights. And then you've got another $50,000 left for new product and new labor. So again, I split that up by 50-50. So we're going to add $25,000 of new product to the display. In year 3, again, budget's $100,000. The current labor is now up to 75K. And we're going to add, again, a little bit of new product just to get back up to that $100,000 spend. So another $12,000 in new product and $12,000 in labor. Year 4, we've now got about $87,000 of product on the display, which gives us about $6,200 each for new product and new labor to add a little bit more to the display. And by the time you get to year 5, you've got about $93,000 of new product in the project, and you have about $93,000 of labor to get that product up, which leaves a little bit for the maintenance. So year 5, just leave a little bit of room to maintain that product to make sure it's all shiny, bright, and fresh for the season. So that's a kind of a long-term plan of how you get to adding more and more product to your display. One thing to consider is leaving the lights up year-round. We often get asked if you can do that. It does reduce heavy equipment costs, especially if there's man lifts required or flaggers. Those costs really add up over a period of time, and it might make more sense to replace the product a little bit more frequently just to save the costs of flaggers and equipment. One popular idea is to put warm white lights in the trees and enjoy that year-round. And then once it comes to the holidays, you can add a splash of color. So maybe just go back in and hang these color ornaments, for example, is one option. You can leave most of it in the tree, but then spice it up a little bit for the holidays. So really, for your multi-year strategies, consider lights designed for permanent installation. Celebrate the holidays and events year-round and keep the maintenance minimal by adding a little bit each year and then maintaining it as you go. The permanent installations, like as you can see in this photo, this is ChromaGlow, which is a type of permanent installation product. It looks great on buildings. You can control it, set it. You can even be out of the country and you can set what color you want on the lights. It can even be controlled from the mayor's office. So this is a really convenient app for having really great control of the lights. As I mentioned, it's very minimal maintenance. You get more enjoyment because you can use it year round, and you can add new buildings each year to meet budgets. Lights designed for permanent installations, in this case, permanent roofline lighting, is a great option. Another important consideration is to order early if you want to save quite a bit. We place our orders every January for the upcoming season, so we allow people to piggyback on our own orders, which allows us to pass a lot of savings on to you. So we do have a preseason sale in January, which is for 35 to 45% off. There's also a program called BSL Direct, which is for 45 to 60% off, where you can order full pallet sizes of shipments. This takes about 8 to 12 weeks to produce and ship the product over. And because we work with numerous factories overseas to produce these, but you need to be ordering full pallets of product to take advantage of that. And then of course we've got the illuminated sculptures. Those have about a 3-month lead time. So for example, if you were to order by July 15th, you could expect a delivery sometime around mid-October, which is probably cutting it a little bit close. Ideally, you probably want to have those orders in by July 1st, just in case of logistical delays. This gives you an idea of how early you should plan your decorative lighting. And of course, you're going to need to hire technicians to install all that product. Or maybe you do it yourself within the city. But if you do outsource, it's important to know that not all technicians are equal. Obviously, you need to check for experience in working with similar projects and not just have somebody who's only worked on installing lights on homes. Homes are very different than working on city streets, where you need to manage traffic, have large equipment come in. There's probably power lines to contend with. There's probably permits going to be involved as well. It's important to have the technicians that are experienced on working with these types of projects. And you check references as well. It's really critical. Also, check that the supplier is using high quality lights. We do have a very large network of professional installers that work across Canada and in the United States as well. So if you're looking to put out an RFP or need technicians to hang the lights, maybe let us know and we can provide a list of suitable candidates. From our experience anyway, that would be good contenders to take on such a project. When you are creating those RFPs, really make sure that the scope is detailed and specific. There's such a large creative component to holiday lights. You can really meet any budget just by changing how creative you get. You don't need to light up everything. It's important to outline what your hope and dreams are with the decorating, and then include photos, locations of trees to decorate. And if you've ever been inspired by something you've seen before, include inspirational photos. So at least it's a starting point for the technician to get a sense of the look and the feel that you are seeking for your holiday light display. Just to recap on some of the things that we went over, really focus on lighting small areas really well for the most effect. I've just seen so many times people try to light too much with too little of a budget, and it tends to just result in disappointment. If the budget's limited, maybe just buying one of those illuminated sculptures and that's it, if that's what your budget is, and just get everybody downtown in front of that illuminated sculpture and interacting with it, posing for photos, and then just go from there. Form one or a few focal points if your budget dictates that. Again, use high quality commercial grade products. That's going to make a difference, ensures that the lights will be more stable and aren't going to change color on you or go dim within a couple of years. Obviously, read the audience really well when considering the design. Warm white is by far the most popular design. It appeals to the largest group of people. A lot of people will just go with warm white. If you want to add a little bit of twinkle into it, you can do that as well, or add a little bit of color if you think that there's going to be a much younger audience or kids involved or wanting to enjoy those lights too. Consider year-round options to cut long-term costs. Again, if you've got a lot of flaggers or equipment involved for the installation, keeping the lights up year-round might be a better option, and just replacing those a little bit more frequently. Overall, long-term, it will save money. And just understand that you don't need to decorate everything at once. If the budget requires, start small, really do a great job of lighting that small area, and then start to expand on it each year. So that's it. If you have any questions, we can take some of those now, or you feel free to book a one-on-one call with Kevin or myself. You can contact us through emails, which I showed at the beginning of the presentation, or you can just reach us through sales@bigstarlights.com. And we can set up a call and really discuss what your project is and what you envision. And we might be able to help steer you in a direction that will gain you the most benefit out of your investment. All right, so any questions? Perfect. We've got this recorded. We'll send this out as well if you want to pass it on to any decision makers or committees involved in the decorative lighting design for your municipality or BIA. And hopefully you find this helpful. And of course, you can reach out to us anytime, and we can make sure that you get something that your committee and your organization and the community in general is really happy with over the holiday season. All right. Thanks, everyone.
Hey, Daniel.
Yep.
Sorry, one quick question.
Yeah.
When you light the buildings and you're doing the roofline stuff, what sort of challenges do you have as far as getting buy-in from I guess you have to talk to the commercial property owners, and what have you heard from other jurisdictions in trying to do that kind of decorating?
Yeah, they've always been really supportive of it. There's like BAAs where we've had to actually pull power from buildings, and they've all been really supportive of that. And yeah, there's never been pushback on it. Most people don't want to be that person who's the only one not putting lights up on the building. And yeah, overall, it's been generally positive. If there are sticklers in terms of costs, it's pretty minimal. To give you an idea, like the Chroma Glow Pro permanent lighting will consume about 4 cents an hour for about 200 feet. So it's negligible the amount of power it consumes. So really just the building owner just needs to be okay with mounting the lights onto the building. So get permission for that first, obviously.
And one last thing, in your background there in decorating trees to that extent,
Yeah.
I mean, our we tried to do it with our local cap team and an electrician that had the bucket truck, and you certainly don't. If someone doesn't really know what they're doing, you don't get the same effect. Is it hard to find good technicians to do those kind of installations like behind you?
So decorative lighting as a professional business is relatively new. There aren't a lot of people that do it. This is growing very quickly. But it's a relatively new industry. It's not as big as like the painting or gutter cleaning industry right now. But there are technicians that exist. We do have actually really great instructional videos on how to do that look, which municipalities or BIAs have shared that with the city workers who are now all of a sudden finding themselves having to hang lights for the first time in their life. And so that offers some really good tips. For example, like those trees behind me, when we decorate branches, we try to finish the branch off with having a fork at the end, of at least 2 or 3 prong fork at the end. And if you can do that, then the tree gets a little bit more depth and you don't have toothpicks hanging off the trunk all over the place. So those are just like small nuggets of information that can really help the lights go further on a tree and just get more bang for your buck with the product. Check out our YouTube channel. There's really great instructional videos on there on how to hang lights on trees in the different styles that we spoke about. There's how to attach lights to roofs. There's what clips to use. And then you can also ask the questions on our website as well. There's a chat bot on there. You can ask it anything like, how long can I make my strings safely? And it'll tell you the answer. So it knows how to speak Christmas lights, and it knows everything about Christmas lights as well. So you can ask there anytime, 24/7. But of course, we're always available to take questions and phone calls to answer any questions as well.
Okay, thanks.
No problem. Excellent. All right. Thanks so much. And we'll hopefully be able to assist with making sure you get the most benefit out of your Christmas lights this season. Have a great day.